So far, the good forces. But with so much knowledge accumulating, it was inevitable that this happened. The forces of evil, as I call them, they started to fight the forces of life. They said, we want to control this. We want to control knowledge. We own it. We want to determine that. That was the birth hour of the chemical cartel. Why is the chemical cartel so important? Well, maybe you never thought about it, but chemical industry is the industry that determines essentially everything. The colors that you see, the paints of your house, the materials you sit on, the car you drive, the seats in there, the drugs you take, the socks you wear. Go through the next 24 hours. More than 50% of the things you touch come from the chemical industry. No other industry is as pervasive as that in our life. And here is its origin. 1863, Bayer was incorporated. The same year, Hoechst was incorporated. Hoechst today is incorporated in Sanofi, French company. 2 years later only, BASF was incorporated. So that was the time of complete, of a launch of knowledge in this area, about 150 years ago. What did they do? Well, the first thing they did is they copied nature. Here's the picture of a willow tree. You see them along every river. Well, they found that the willow tree contains in its bark a substance that kills pain. So they reproduced that substance, added a little molecule, and had acetylic salicylic acid, better known as aspirin. And they patented that. Same thing with the coca blend. They isolated the substance that takes away the pain, and they got procaine. And they reproduced it. They were able to identify it and reproduce it synthetically. And they did so not just with two substances, but with hundreds, in fact, thousands of substances. This is a book from 1897, so about 114 years ago. An annual of the German Chemical Society, where these companies and their researchers published the new molecules from nature that they just discovered that year. And I'm going to hold that into the camera. Maybe you can zoom that in here. But you see here, page after page after page after page after page, new substances. New substances. Just to explain this to you, each line is a new molecule. And in this book alone, there are several thousands of these lines, of these molecules. So this is like a sorcerer's manual, a magician's manual for reproducing nature. That is the complete series from 1863 to 1920 of these manuals. Each of them, in total, they contain tens of thousands of new molecules. Knowledge that had never been here before on this planet. They deciphered nature, the molecules. We call it the Lego principle. That's what they did. Putting little molecules together like in a Lego system. But copying nature was only the first step. What they were really aiming at was to possess nature. To own this knowledge exclusively. And to make money from it. So they were up to becoming the new gods. In fact, they called themselves the Council of Gods. So in 1877, to promote this possession, this robbery of nature, they passed a new German patent law which defined the violation of any of this knowledge, the unlicensed spread of the sorcerer's handbook, as a crime. You would go to prison for doing that. And one of the first patents filed instantly after this law came into place was, of course, from BASF, a patent on chemical dyes. So we need to understand there are three steps in this plan to seize control of this planet by the chemical cartel. The first one was copying and reproducing nature. Second one was to possessing it. And the third one was to expand the new patent laws to other countries. That was the missing link. If they accomplished that, they controlled the world. If they forced Poland, Sweden, Russia to adapt the same patent laws that protected this knowledge, they owned them. And of course, such devious, such diabolic plans, they have heads, they have their names, their persons behind that. This person, you should remember, his name is Carl Duisberg. He was the chief executive officer of Bayer. In 1904, he wrote a memorandum calling for the merger of all chemical industries in Germany. From 1925 to 1935, he became the chairman of the infamous IG Farben cartel that was already referred to earlier tonight. Chapter 4. The forces of evil's first attempt at world conquest. To do exactly what I said to you. To expand the patent laws upon the world. And thereby control life in these countries for generations to come. These companies were not operating behind closed doors. They were politically well connected, so well that in parallel to the growth of the industry, its influence on German policy and policy makers increased. So in 1914, they commissioned German Emperor Wilhelm II to go to war.